Good afternoon, people. Good afternoon to you all. Welcome to another episode of Iggy_Calcio. What a bad night it was for Calcio, certainly for Italians, that is. I've given myself 24 hours just to... I always do that after a defeat because I want to look, observe, relook at it again with a different eyes. And I'm able to then articulate exactly what my thinking is in that merit. Let me just start saying this. I want to get this out of the open straight away. Losing to North Macedonia with any Italian team is simply not good enough. I will say this. Any Italian team you put out should be able to see Macedonia, North Macedonia in this case, and go through to what would have been the final of the playoff. So I want to put that out there straight away and say that. What do you say about a match where Italy clearly dominated by possession, chances, whatever you want, 32 attempts on goal to the 4 that they had, 16 corners to 0. I mean, we can talk about this all day long, but the bottom line is that the statistic that matters the most is the most important one, which you normally find either at the top hand bottom here or there, depending where you're watching in the world, is the scoreline. And it resulted with Italy 0, Macedonia 1. Now, the underlying issue has been there for some time now. When Italy failed to make the World Cup in 2017 at the hands of the playoff, yet again versus Sweden at the time. But that was a different situation because Italy had already been building up to that point, because on the back of this 2006 victory, we failed to make the groups, make it out of the group stages in 2010 and yet again in 2014, with the Euros in between. We didn't, which brought us to the point I was just making regarding Sweden not making 2018. So there was an alien underlying issue with Italian football. With that. What is the issue with Italian football? Italian football simply is not the Italian players. We're not bringing through enough quality, not just the quality, but also enough players into the Serie A. What do I mean by that? So there's a statistic with 30% of the under 21-23 actually play, less than 30% play in Serie A. We have 60% of foreign players currently playing in Serie A at any age level. That goes right across Serie A generally speaking. So with the Italian players under 23s and under 21s, we've got less than 30% that's currently playing in Serie A. So they're playing in a lower scale of Serie A teams or in Serie B. So we've got this underlying factor that's been going on, and which is why the growth of the Italian team has been very, very scarce. It's scarce. Sorry, I said it in Italian, scarso. But scarce, it's been very scarce. So the last crop of players that we had, which was really at the pinnacle of their careers, was this team here in 2006. We had players like Del Piero, Filippo Inzaghi, in not even the starting 11. They had him out. We had Christian Vieri, who was our number 9 back then, but he got injured before the World Cup started. He got injured then. And we brought in Luca Toni because characteristic-wise, physically-wise, the way Lippi wanted to play, was the closest that we had. Not perhaps in terms of goals scored, because Toni, I think, scored 2 goals the whole World Cup. So already the number 9 issue was already starting to creep in. But we had so much quality in and around the squad that we more than overcompensated. We had the Buffon at the height of his career, Gattuso, Pirlo, Totti, Camoranesi, which was the height of his career, Juve, like I said, Cannavaro, of course, Nesta, who got injured, was replaced by Materazzi, Zambrotta. We had Gross. We had a fantastic crop of players, which is why to this day I still have this massive canvas behind me, because that was the pinnacle of Italian football of that generation. And they will go down as legends. That's not to take away the fact what the Italian team did yesterday, but it was yesterday, as in 2020. But it was very short-sighted. And what I mean by that was that when Italy failed to make the World Cup in 2018, the country was down. We was on its knees on the back of, like I said, the qualifications and even going out of the group stages in the previous World Cups post 2006. There was a consequence of failures in the World Cups that followed, to the point where we actually collapsed and didn't actually make the World Cup for the first time in 60 odd years. What the short term was Mancini coming in and said straight away, we're going to build a team that's going to go on to win the Euro 2020. He said that in the first press conference. He managed to get the crop of players that he wanted for that team, which the target was to bounce back in a big way on the back of that World Cup elimination to then bring us forward to the Euro 2020. He did that. But it was very short-sighted. What we needed was a complete overhaul of the way the Italian football has been set up. By like I said, like there was similar sort of thing that Spain did on the back of their continuous failures. They always had a good team growing up when I was a kid and in my teenagers, but for some reason they just couldn't get over the line in the World Cup. So with Johan Cruyff coming into Barcelona, bringing a Dutch way of playing. Then they brought the crop of quality managers like Pep Guardiola, who brought into that Johan Cruyff system. And then they right up into the lower academy, they brought a Dutch type of play where tiki-taka was then transformed. So they had a complete new outlook, which they went on to teach from a young age right up until senior level, which is why the Xavis and the Iniestas kept on going. But they didn't do it short-sightedly. They did it over a course of years, which they went on to win the World Cup and the Euros back-to-back in 08 and 10. But what they did, they didn't just stop there. They carried on that formula. They continued to carry on that formula. Yes, they don't always win, but the style of player that in the different crop of generations that keep coming through have the same ideology of what Guardiola and his tiki-taka football and just the way general Spain play. The players come and go, but that cycle of way of football still carries on. We need the same sort. We don't have to copy Spain because we have our own way, but we need to do a sort of a setting where it's not just short-sighted for one competition, but for competitions to come. And that is something that needs to come into the culture, the way we do an investment in our youth football, in our talent. Listen, this can go on I can make a 50 minutes video on it. But going back to what I was saying, so what Mancini did was, the impact was the Italian pride had been hit. We needed to bounce back. He set a target for the Euro 2020. He got the players in, got into players start brilliant quality of football leading up to Euro 2020. And even with the shortcomings that we had, a striker that didn't score goals, which continues to be a problem to this day, outside of the sort of 11, 12 players, we have players that play in mid-table in Serie A, Sassuolo being one of them. Like the players like Berardi, Raspadori, those kind of players playing in Sassuolo, which is completely out of the top 6, 7 teams. So in the current Milan team right now, I'm talking at 3 top teams, Milan, Juve, Inter. We have 2 players that are Italian, that are in the national team. They're around, even though they're not first teamers. 2 of them. That means 9 of those players are foreign players in now. Juventus, Locatelli and Chiesa. Outside of those 2, with the Bonucci and Chiellini soon to be departing, as in they've done now with the Italian team. The rest of them, foreign players too. Inter Milan, Barella and Bastoni, who's just now got into the team. So only Barella is a first team player. Outside of that, foreign players. You can see where the issues are starting to become. So with the lack of Italian young players breaking into those teams and going on to then, why these players playing at levels of Sassuolo and they cannot go beyond that, it's very simple, because those teams there that have the few players that are talented, they go completely outprice them. So nobody wants to play. A player like Berardi, who to me is a very good player, but not elite. In Italian football right now, is marketed at 35 million euros. Nobody's going to touch that. Nobody. So Italian teams go and invest in French leagues where you can get quality potential players at very, very low prices. They go there. They go to Portugal. They go to South America, where the prices are much more cheaper, which you can go on, depending how good they become, you can go and sell them on at a better price. So the margins of profits are a lot more better. So financial fair play issues, you can then start balancing the book. So it will look good because you get them at a low price and you sell them on. So with all of these, with all of this that needs to be, Italian football really need to look at restructuring the way they are, the way that the young players coming in. Why are our top teams going out to go and buy abroad? Because the ones inside in our own nation are far too expensive. So therefore, the national team takes a massive hit for it. So where do we go? I mean, yesterday's game. Listen, we had so many opportunities, but we just had a forward line. Insigne was completely missing. There was nowhere to be seen. He's kind of down towards because at 30 years old, for him to then up and leave and go to play for Toronto in the MLS. You know, even if we had gone through to make it to the World Cup stages to play in Qatar in December, he's already gone and he's not playing at a level, with all due respect to MLS and Toronto, he's not playing at a level at World Cup that you can go play Toronto and then jump to go and play the World Cup level. Berardi had just spoken about Immobile, 20 goals a season for Lazio, but Italy don't play in that same system, which doesn't favour him. But he in return as well has shown that Italian national team is a level too high for him. We go on to the midfield. An out-of-form Barella. We don't have a replacement for that. We really don't, characteristic-wise. Jorginho, his 2 penalties, which missed, the home and away to Switzerland. We had a match point against Switzerland before we went on to the playoff. He scores that goal, we go to the World Cup. But again, that's papering over the cracks. And this is what the short vision was, what I was saying earlier, that Mancini built that team to win the Euro 2020, which they did, and it was fantastic for the nation to do that. But it was short-sighted because beyond that, we haven't restructured anything. All we did by doing that is claim some sort of pride for Italy that bounced back from that defeat. But in the long term, we still have the same issues are still ongoing now. Where do we go from here? Sacking a manager. Everyone in Italy right now is calling for his head. Sacking a manager is simply it's simply, listen, they can do it. They can go ahead and do it. I don't think it's the right thing to do. Because first of all, who is the replacement? That is even better than Mancini is. Who is the replacement? Secondly, what do you achieve by doing that? Because that's a knee-jerk reaction. Get rid of the manager. But the problem still exists. So whoever comes in has the pressure now to then bounce back, similar to what we did in 2018 for the next competition, next Euros now, with the same goal. But we're not long-term. We're not doing it. It's very short-sighted vision. It's not long-term. So for me, we should keep the manager. And I said this after the final whistle yesterday. As disappointed as I was, said, getting rid of the manager is not the solution. We need to start tackling the bigger issues that's very underlined with Italian football. Because our teams in Europe are not doing well anymore. They're not. Our biggest teams, Juve, in Milan and Inter, are not doing well in Europe anymore. There's a complete domination of other clubs from different nations. England being one of them. Germany are doing well. Spain are doing well. But Italy are falling from that. So we need to then relook at the whole situation again. That will take time. It's a long due course. Do we have the patience to do it? Do the clubs themselves want to invest in helping the national team to? I don't think so, because the market needs to be looked at about Italian players. How we bring up the young Italian kids. How do we develop them and get them to play at the highest possible level? How do we do that? There's a lot of things that I've just thrown in there. I've not put them maybe in order that I wanted to say it. It's all there, but it's just coming out. So I haven't scripted anything, guys. So the defeat of the nation, yes, was a big one. A massive disappointment for losing North Macedonia. And I'll repeat again, any Italian team should be able to beat that North Macedonian team. However, when you got players, and I'll say Donnarumma, let me just say that. Donnarumma that plays in Euro 2020 was a regular starter for Milan. He was a different mindset in that Euro 2020 last season. But with the advice of the agent, and bearing in mind he's 21 years old, the advice of the agent is to go and get himself a better deal, run down the contract, go and get himself a better deal, go to PSG. He goes to PSG, he can't even get into the first team, he's regularly on the bench. 21-year-old goalkeeper, height of his massive potential. His continuation, his progress would have been better off playing with Milan. I'm not saying because it's my team, I'm saying for him, it would have been better for his course to go on to play, build himself up, become even better, because he had his whole career ahead of him. As a goalkeeper, he had a 20-year career. He didn't need to move at 21 to PSG to go and fight it out against all these superstars, because he felt he was there already. Humbleness went out the window. And this is what happened with a lot of young talent. 1 or 2 seasons, they get their valuation completely out of any logic. 21, 22-year-old may have a couple of good seasons, and all of a sudden the next best thing is sliced bread. They go to PSG and they sit for half of the time on the bench. So in yesterday, that goal that he conceded from 30 yards, he would not concede that. He would not concede it. Had he played regular football like he was going into the Euro 2020, he would not concede that goal. But the lack of games means rustiness has set in. And he's still a national goalkeeper, and I will carry on defending him by all means. This is not an attack. I'm just saying this is this is what it's come to, in the sense of him going over there, not playing football, and now he's finding himself in the business end of the season, not having played enough games, rusty, because he would not concede a 30-yard shot of that one that he conceded. Macedonia, the kid done well to get a strike in. Great goal. I'm not knocking that. But a goalkeeper of his calibre, that I know him fully well, does not concede a goal like that. He makes a save. And even he doesn't even put it out for a corner. He actually gets to it. That's what I'm trying to say. These little things that are different. And, agents, listen, I don't want to get into that, because sometimes these players are very badly advised. But these young players nowadays feel like 1 or 2 seasons, they buy into the hype and they're gone with it. He's still some way away to go and follow the career that Buffon had. A fantastic goalkeeper. Donnarumma could be as good, if not even better, in the time of Buffon. But when I see these things, it begs the question. I don't know now. I don't know. Where does this leave Italy? It leaves them in a bad place, because now we've got, a nation that wants this calling head. The Italian Football Federation, will be under serious pressure, even though yesterday in the press conference, they backed Mancini and said he wouldn't be getting sacked. Mancini's reflecting, because he's going to be taking some heat on the back of what happened yesterday. I don't know how it's going to go. I think it's the wrong move to get rid of him or for him to leave. However, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. And that's the bottom line of it. It's just a shame, because on the back of that Euro 2020, we had done a really good qualification. We effed it up with those 2 games against Switzerland, in my opinion, and we got ourselves in the situation where we shouldn't have. And also, I have to say, in that game that I saw yesterday, I didn't see the level of hunger. I didn't see the level of nasty streak that I saw in that Euro 2020, particularly going right up into the final. I didn't see it. I did not see it. I felt like they were going for them. I felt like mentally we had set up to focus more of the final that we would have played against Portugal, rather than actually focusing knocking North Macedonia out. That was the biggest issue with it. I didn't see them in the moment. I saw them looking too far ahead. And Mancini's declarations before, in a pre-match 2 days before, said we're looking to get into the World Cup and winning it. You need to qualify first. That would have been my thing. What are you saying? What are you saying that you need to, you're going to go to the World Cup and win it when you still haven't even qualified? So this is what I'm saying. The mindset from the manager and the players wasn't quite in the moment. It was almost like automatic that we were going to qualify. Automatic we were going to get in the final to play Portugal for the final playoff to go to the World Cup, and not focus in the moment, which was playing North Macedonia and winning that game before we started looking at elsewhere. So there was issues leading up to yesterday's game, and there are issues with Italian football generally, and have been since 2000, on the post 2006 onwards, which is still to this day haven't been highlighted, and nothing's been done for it. and the Euro 2020 win, whilst it was a great spring to bounce back from that 2018 disappointment, it was short-sighted. It wasn't long-sighted. That's my analysis at all. Which completely, like this obviously, this not qualifying for this World Cup totally takes away the disappointment of having won the game, having won the Euro 2020. It's a shame, but we hold on to the match ball from the Euro 2020. We hold on to the fact that we're still European champions. We hold on to being taken the piss out of nations that have not won anything in my lifetime. I hold on to those piss takers that have been messaging me still to this day. No problem with that, but it's all part of football. But to be getting ripped from nations that have never won anything in football, or certainly not in my lifetime, let alone in your lifetime, I'll hold on to the European champions and to that title until the next one. Until the next Euros, we'll be there. Anyway, match ball from the Euro 2020 final. Here you go, boys and girls, if you haven't seen it. I'll hold on to that. I'll hold on to our 4 World Cups. And the Brazilians, those 7-1 slaps in that semi-final, that World Cup 2014 weren't hard enough. It should have woken up your ancestors. But you hold on to those 5 World Cup wins, which is one more than ourselves in Germany. Vamos Argentina. Ciao.